This is the beginning of the leading marketing experts forum. Every year we invite a small number of selected people from the industry so that they come here and they overview the valuable insights. We are very, very happy to have as our first speaker Mr. Peter Economides. We know that you have a very busy program. Very scheduled out. Thank you very much for this presentation. I think you all know Peter Economides. As Bogi says, too many words always spoil it, so I have nothing to say.
Okay. Thank you very much. I got degrees in 1999, and I set up my own company here. And what I do today is I work. This is my company. It's called Felix B&I. It's a strategy consultancy. And I live in Greece, but I work globally, which to me is absolutely what I always wanted to do. I love what I do. Fortunately, I love traveling as well. I travel a lot. But the most important thing is I've got a deep interest in people. Without a basic inquisitiveness into people, marketing is a very difficult thing to do. You need this natural curiosity about people. And that, in fact, is my big thing.
Peter really is a very rare individual in that he understands, probably more than anybody else I know, the essence of the Greek spirit.
Art, no, art comes from something else. It's life-based. I'm talking about, producing things of value which are based on this unique Greek know-how, which is called the love of life. And that is a thing of huge value. The most important thing that we as Greeks around the world can do is to reconnect as Greeks. And if that can happen, if I can stimulate that just in a small little way, that for me would be a huge thing. Because I think that reconnecting is really important.
What I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about peeling onions. I'm going to talk about living under the volcano. I'm going to talk a bit about jazz, because to me marketing is like jazz. I'm going to talk a bit about Aristotle, and about how excellence is a habit, and what we can learn from the classics. I'm going to talk a bit about the weather, and finally I'm going to try to switch the lights. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is peeling onions. Are those lines straight? Are they? Do they look straight?
No.
They're perfectly straight. Can you tell me what's wrong with it?
It's a sign that usually depicts danger,
Yeah.
but it speaks about love and...
Okay. Anything else wrong with it?
It has 2 times the.
It has 2 times the word the. It's amazing how we don't see it, right? It's remarkable. By the way, I can read a 500-page book and I'll pick up the one little typographic error. I didn't see it. It's remarkable. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. And that's the French author Anaïs Nin. And I've been drumming into John's head. He's been working with me for a couple of months now. The thing I say to him every day is, don't make assumptions about nothing. Don't make any assumptions. Right? Because remember, we see things as we are, not as they are. You have to peel that onion to get all the way to the center to find the truth. Okay? That's the only way to do it. Otherwise you make huge mistakes, believe me. Take this thing over here, a leaf. If you're a gardener, that's work. If you're a painter, it's inspiration. If you're a Greek grandmother, it's food. We make dolmades with those things. Right? In Africa, they build houses with those things. And if you're Canadian, it's a symbol of national pride. Okay? We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Under the volcano. You know, we used to talk about change, then we started talking about disruption and disruptive change. But I believe that today change is like an eruption. And when it happens, it changes everything forever. And you're not waiting for it, and it just happens. It's like a volcano, it just... You know that Kodak invented the digital camera? And the CEO at the time said to the company, put that thing away. It's going to put us out of business. Well, guess what happened? Fujifilm also invented the digital camera, and they put Kodak out of business. But in fact, the smartphone is putting Fuji out of business. It's a constant volcano that we're living under. Uber. Constant. In many cities around the world, Uber's putting taxi guys out of business. But Uber is doing a lot more than that. Because once this happens, the electric car, you don't need to own a car. If you've got an Uber kind of application and driverless electric cars on the road, you just go to your app and say, I want a car in 5 minutes and I'm here. You get in the car, you go where you want to go, and you leave the car for somebody else to take. Think of all the people that go out of business. Parking lots, benzinarica, finance companies, motor dealerships, etc., 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 etc. And by the way, you will see this stuff in your lifetime. Maybe I won't. Bill Gates always used to say, we overestimate what will happen in the next 2 years. We underestimate what will happen in the next 10 years. And that's the other reason why you should never see things as you are, but for the way they are. Because it's terrible making mistakes, like this company over here. Just look at the industry that I grew up in. In the 1960s in South Africa, there was no television. We used to watch the test pattern when we came home from school, because that was really cool, because we were waiting for television to come. Okay. 1979, I'm going to show you a commercial. It looks so innocent today. Have a look at this.
Mr. Green?
Yeah.
You need any help? Want my Coke?
No.
Really, you can have it.
Okay. Thanks.
That's the way it should be. I like to say,
See you around.
oh, why are smiling with me? Coca-Cola has right. Had a Coke in a
Wow, thanks, Joe.
That's what we used to watch. Right? 1984, Steve Jobs launches the first Macintosh with this commercial again.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the Information Purification Directives. We have created for the first time in all history a garden of pure ideology, where each worker may bloom, secure from the pests of any contradictory rules. Purification, of course, is more powerful a weapon than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people. One will, one resolve, one cause. Our enemies shall talk themselves to death, and we will rally them with their own confusion. We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh, and you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
Now the difference between those two is huge. The Mean Joe Green commercial was all about producing a very carefully crafted commercial, right? Putting a lot of money behind it on television stations all over the world. This commercial went on air once. It played once, and it became the most talked about commercial around the world. That's probably the most famous piece of advertising that has ever been made. It played once, but the whole world spoke. Now let's fast forward a bit, 2007. By the way, that commercial, the Apple one, was directed by Ridley Scott. The cost was $2.5 million. Okay. Now look at this.
No, Daddy bit me. And that really hurt, Johnny, and it's still hurting.
That's unbelievable stuff. Budget, 0. 860 million views. 860 million views. Budget, 0. Some Chazo Baba made some footage of his kid, which in the old days would have passed by email maybe to a couple of his friends and they might have laughed about it. He puts it on YouTube and it's reached like 850 million views, which is unbelievable. And then I get clients saying to me, let's do a viral campaign. I'm like, are you kidding? What does that mean? Let's do a viral campaign. We don't know how to do stuff like this. We could have unlearned everything we've learned to make stuff like this. It's tough. It's really tough. Facebook. Who's not on Facebook? Okay, no, he's not on Facebook. Wasting people's lives since 2004. What the fuck happened to my job? It's dramatic. It's dramatic. It's really dramatic. And I see ad agencies struggling. They don't know how to deal with this. They don't know how to deal with it. And just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, along comes Snapchat. Along comes Snapchat. This is scary stuff.
How often do you guys use Snapchat?
Every day, all day. When do I not use Snapchat?
Every couple of years, a new platform shows up and is quickly declared the future of social media. Let me explain. First, there was Friendster. Then MySpace showed up, got rid of Friendster. Facebook came along and took out MySpace. Then Instagram showed up, but was bought off by Facebook for $1 billion. And now there's Snapchat. Facebook tried to buy Snapchat for a reported $3 billion, but Snapchat refused.
How big does this pile have to be?
Now, there's a new gangster in town.
Say my name.
Snapchat?
Goddamn right.
Snapchat. The interesting thing about Snapchat is that it really lives on this device. It's a smartphone platform. Do you know that there are more smartphones in the world today than there are toothbrushes? Do you know that more people have got access to mobile connectivity than have got access to toilets? It's true. The New York Times says that mobile media is the most powerful media ever invented. And I want to just show you this to you over here. Trends in Consumer Mobility Report from the Bank of America. Americans, it says, are constantly connected to their phones. Look at this, millennials 18 to 24. How many people, this asks, say that they cannot do without their mobile phone? 96%. It's the most important thing in their lives is their mobile phone. 96%. Second, toothbrush. Third, deodorant. So get this, smelly connected people, right? The internet, 88%. The laptop, 82%. The car, 80%. Social networks, 56%. TV, 54%. Coffee, 48%.
This is my friend Jerome Jar.
It's Jar. Jerome Jar.
Jerome has a huge social media following. And in the 2 weeks since he's joined Snapchat, he's posted 7 stories. And 1 million of his followers have found him on the platform. You could call him the king of Snapchat, although he doesn't like that title. Jerome is going to send out a Snapchat story, a Snapchat video, and get people to show up in Union Square and meet us, right?
Yes, yes. I hope we get 20 people.
Okay, so when you push this button, this is going to go to 1 million phones.
Yeah.
How many views does it have?
142,000.
142,000 in 16 minutes?
Yeah. see this guy right now.
How did you learn about what's going on?
Snapchat.
This was an experiment. Snapchat is about now. Not photos with pretty filters, not perfectly edited videos. It's about sharing stories from your life with people who are interested. And this was a physical manifestation of just that. Fans will show up anywhere to see their idol. This was different. They were invited on Snapchat to be a part of something about Snapchat.
I want to test which app is your favorite, so try Facebook. How about this screen?
Do you guys like Facebook?
Not as much. I don't know, my friends really use it anymore.
Yeah,
So.
like not many people use it anymore. Like my friends.
Snapchat? How often do you guys use Snapchat?
Every day.
Every day.
What does this say about the future of social media? Well, for starters, young people are a lot more interested in the ephemeral, in now. Like interacting in the physical world, there's less scrutiny, no comments, no likes. Just an interaction that happens, then it disappears.
We're sitting under the volcano, right under the volcano. And by the way, it's going to carry on. Snapchat's not the end of it. There's something coming which hasn't been there. Mark my words. But look at Snapchat. Not photos with pretty filters. Forget about the $2.5 million budget with Ridley Scott. Forget about that perfectly crafted Mean Joe Green commercial. Not photos with pretty filters, not perfectly edited videos. Snapchat is about now. It's an interaction that happens, and then it just disappears. That's tough if you're in marketing. It's very tough. So good luck, kids. If you're not scared, then you're not paying attention. If you're not scared, then you're not paying attention. We thought that social media was a media revolution. That's what the ad agencies were hoping it was. Just a media revolution. And we transfer all our viewers onto the internet. Social media is not about media. It's about a fundamental shift in the way that consumers think, feel, and behave. This consumer can make you or break you. Because it's true that in today's world, it's all about storytelling. The problem is you're not telling the story. Everybody is. Brand is storytelling, but you're not always telling the story. You're not always telling the story. Brand is in fact footprints. Brand is not something that we control. Brand is what everybody thinks about us. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. But it's affected by everything you do and everything you don't. And everything you say and everything you don't say. And everything that everybody says about you. This guy over here. This guy has stood in line outside the Apple store for like quite a few hours. He went and he bought his new iPhone. He doesn't know what it does. He paid $500 for it. Dollars, euros, pounds, no matter where he is around the world. And he's, look at it, that's joy. He's going to go home and make an unboxing video. Have you seen unboxing videos? These are ridiculous. Where he's got like a camera and films himself unboxing his iPhone, right? Puts that on YouTube and he gets like 1.5 million views. He's working for Apple, he doesn't even know it. Today's world needs agility. You need to be able to respond to things like the United Airlines thing. It also needs consistency. Because brand is built by being consistent. It's not by being all over the place. And you also need relevance. 3 key words over here, and I'm going to come back to this. Because we Greeks solved that thing a long, long time ago. And the days of briefing your ad agency and waiting for 2 months for them to come back with a script. And then you go and you make the perfect commercial are over forever. Forever. You need to respond like this. We'll get back. Everything has changed. Everything has changed. I used to think that that would be my job when I grew up. that with all this marketing stuff in my head, I'd be the marketing genius who would draw up beautiful marketing plans and hand them out to my orchestra like a music score, and I'd get the orchestra to play beautiful music together. It's not like that anymore. Marketing is jazz. Marketing is jazz. There is no script. There is no score. But there's other stuff that makes jazz. You've got to know your music well, but you've got to let go of everything you know. And when you consider that you're living under the volcano, that becomes terribly important stuff. And make sure you peel onions, for God's sake. Make sure you peel onions. Don't make sound. Jazz, by the way, when jazz is well played, there's a strong thread running through it. Jazz musicians make mistakes. It's okay. Jazz musicians connect with their audience. That is absolutely vital. Jazz musicians know how to build with each other. When something really starts to swing, they know how to make it even better. Okay? They understand how to do it. They're not stuck with their script and their score. Marketing is jazz. Scared? Yeah. You should be. I'm now going to try to give you a way out of this. Okay? And I'm going to go back to Aristotle. Aristotle said that excellence is a habit. That we're not excellent because of occasional things we do. It's when everything we do is excellent. And excellence is actually a habit. He also spoke, of course, about persuasive communication. And it's very interesting to see that Aristotle wrote his book on rhetoric because of democracy, where he felt that if we were going to really be able to communicate our point of view, we needed to do so in a persuasive way in a democracy. And coming out of this was the whole theory of rhetoric. And I believe that Aristotle was probably the original marketing guy. I think he gets it. And by the way, I'm going to be writing a book about this. I've started writing. And I'm going to buy. So, logos. Logos is what you say, it's what you do, it's what you don't say, it's what you don't do. And it's how you say it, and it's how you do it. Simple stuff. Logos. Pathos, the emotional and the imaginative impact of the message on an audience. The power with which a message moves the audience to decision or action. So pathos is dependent on the reaction we get out of our audience. Okay. Ethos, and this is the key. Persuasion is achieved by the speaker's personal character when the speech is so spoken as to make us think incredible. We believe good men more fully and more readily than others. This is true generally whatever the question is, and absolutely true where exact certainty is impossible and opinions are divided. Okay? So let me give you an example. Here's an iPhone. What is that? Samsung? That's a, here's a Sony. Thanks. Here's a Sony, and here's an Apple. Some people are going to say to me that this is better than that. Others are going to say to me that that is better than this. I honestly have no idea. Honestly, I don't. And in fact, my opinion is an uninformed opinion. And I don't have the time to go and figure it all out. So these guys tell me stuff. These guys tell me stuff. Logos, logos. And I'm going to figure out who I'm going to listen to. What I rely on? Ethos. Okay? And Apple's ethos is all about think different. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels. Nike or Adidas? Are you kidding me? Just do it. Find your greatness. Rent a car or rent a car? By the way, it's exactly the same car. Right? And Avis says, we try harder. Ethos. Mercedes-Benz or BMW, the best or nothing. Ethos. That's branding. Do you like it?
Yes.
Is it good fun?
Problems with memory.
Ethos, you see. So, what we've got here, do you remember those keywords? Consistency, agility, and relevance. Remember? Now we said that today's world needs agility because of the volcano. But we're looking for consistency because you're going to develop a brand that is consistent over time. But the most important thing at the end of the day is that you need relevance, which is pathos. Okay? So all these three things come together. They come together. You need the speed to change your logos. Analogos, right? But you need to be consistent in terms of your ethos. And if you do those things right, you find your greatness. Find your greatness. Shoes, clothing, accessories, electronics, flagship stores, celebrities. They could run a world sporting event if they wanted to. They've got the ethos to do it. Easy. And on this side over here, inspiration for achievement. It's not about the shoes. Shoes are plastic things made in Malaysia, just like Adidas. It's exactly the same stuff. Okay, the one's got that thing, that's got 3 stripes. But look at this. How's this for ethos? This, by the way, is the most amazing piece of copywriting. I'm jealous. I wish that I'd written that. It's so beautiful. Find your greatness. Somehow we've come to believe that greatness is only for the chosen few, for the superstars. The truth is, greatness is for us all. This is not about lowering expectations. It's about raising them for every last one of us. Greatness is not in one special place, and it's not in one special person. Greatness is wherever somebody's trying to find it. Find your greatness. In other words, just do it. That's great ethos. That's great ethos. It's easy to sell shoes. By the way, all of that is about realized potential. It's tapping into something that human beings really care about. And there are a lot of things that human beings really care about, like philanthropy, like perfection, like creativity, like knowledge, joy, belonging, safety, and survival. And if you, by the way, that's Maslow. If you look at the great brands, they connect into one of these universal human drivers. Maslow becomes very useful here for analyzing brands. And I've just put a couple of brands around here, and you can see what they're plugging into. And by the way, what brands do is they take you up from this condition of simply transactional things, where you're buying and selling stuff, and they take you up the scale into human aspiration. That's what human need. And these brands are doing it. I'm the chairman of Make-A-Wish International. We are right up here with philanthropy. But so is Tom's. Tom's is not just selling you shoes. 1 for 1. Buy shoes from me and I give a pair of shoes to a kid in need somewhere around the world. That's powerful ethos. It's connecting in a very powerful way. Mercedes-Benz, the best for nothing. Google, all about knowledge. Heineken, worldliness. Apple, creativity. Nike, find your greatness. Coca-Cola's been about joy for 125 years. That's why it's the world's biggest soft drink, not because they've got the best taste. It's ridiculous. This brain. It's plugged into the right stuff. It's about joy. It's about happiness. And there's a company that I work for, Aphilia, which is medical diagnostic centers, which at the end of the day is all about survival. And our slogan is, not a slogan, it's a belief statement, nothing is more important than health. Generic, yes. Universal, absolutely. Absolutely. Universal. Howard Schultz, Starbucks. If people share values with your company, they will stay loyal to your brand. One of the most remarkable case studies which demonstrates the power of ethos is Apple. And I want to talk to you a bit about Apple because it really demonstrates the power that Ethos has got. I was involved with the relaunch of Apple in 1997 when Steve Jobs went back. And it's quite a remarkable story. And it's a story about how a bankrupt computer company, because Apple was bankrupt in 1997, how they reinvented their core product. They became a high-end retailer. They changed the way people listen to music. They sold more music than anyone else from the world's largest online music store. They put the world's leading mobile phone producer out of business. They enabled millions of small independent software developers. They invented the tablet category. They revolutionized wearable technology. They threatened to change the world of personal transportation with the self-driving car. And they became the world's most valuable corporation ever in the space of 20 years. So Steve Jobs comes back, and he started working with a guy called Lee Clow, who is the guy who made that commercial I showed you earlier, the 1984 commercial. And Lee Clow worked for TVWA in Los Angeles. And he was really close to Lee Clow, and they started working together. And then I got involved in order to take that whole thought that they were having and take it globally around the world. And I met with Jobs, and I'll never forget that conversation. I was with him probably for about 4 hours. And I remember a few things. One thing was this: let's make a dent on the universe. Not let's save Apple from bankruptcy. Not let's make this the world's most valuable corporation. Let's make a dent on the universe. Huge. Second thing I remember: good enough is not good enough. Perfection. Absolute perfection. Third thing I remember: computers should be bicycles for your mind. They should be easy. You should be able to get on it and ride.
Easy ones. The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. A couple of months later, out came this computer over here. And what it was a big bubble with weird colors, basically. The shops, probably the most significant thing that Apple did. Because you can't sell that computer at a premium price next to Dell. It's very difficult. So you create your own shops. The Genius bar inside there. It's very important. This was incredibly important. The iPod. By the way, 1,000 songs in your pocket. One of the things about Jobs is that he was a firm disbeliever in research. Because he said, how on earth can I research consumers on something that they haven't imagined? How can I do it? Right? And here's an example. I mean, at the time we were walking around with CDs in our pockets, in our cars, and we'd have CD players. And I mean, if somebody said to me, do you need 1,000 songs in your pocket? No, what for? Got a couple of CDs, I'm okay. But as soon as you show me something that can do that, I'm like, okay, give it to me. Right? Also over here was just reconfiguring technology to make more sense. This was not a new invention. The MP3 player was around for a long time before that. You remember the little river if you guys remember, it's smaller than a sheet like this, which had buttons so small that you couldn't even see them, right? Because some genius had looked at a hi-fi set and said, okay, I'll just shrink that. But in fact, what Steve did, he made it bigger with a nice big wheel that you could comfortably spin your finger around, right? So he made it relevant to the consumer. Bicycle for your mind. You have to be a genius to rip this stuff. Music store. The iPhone. I mean, this over here, designed by Apple in California, assembled in China, kind of says it all. I mean, this is the whole culture. Here's the ethos. Here's the logos. The App Store, which enabled so many young developers to get into business, which enables us to make our phones exactly what we want them to be. The iPad, the watch, relentless innovation enabled by powerful connection. And this is what Ethos does. Ethos allows you to connect, right? If people share values, they will stay loyal to your brand. Ethos is what establishes values. Once you connect, you've got a stream of connection that you can do other things against. And last night I saw a statement by James Dyson. Do you know Dyson vacuum cleaners and stuff? Where James Dyson says, I don't believe in brand. He says, nobody buys my products because of my company, right? And it's all about my product. Brand is rubbish. Well, I think that's absolute nonsense. Because the brand that he's creating is a brand that really cares about great product. Of course it's a brand. Of course it's a brand. Relentless innovation enabled by powerful connection. That's what that guy's feeling. He's feeling the joy of connecting to others. And if I get back to the ethos story, think different. The logos, iMac, Apple stores, iPod, iTunes, iPad, iCloud, watch, fridge. If Apple launches a fridge, I'll go and buy it tomorrow. And if they launch a car, we'll all go and see it, let's face it. And on this side over here, inspiration, aspiration, desire. It's not rocket science. Aristotle cracked it a long time ago. Okay, the next section is all about the weather. How's the weather? Anybody been to Dublin? Yeah?
I have.
You have. Anybody else been to Dublin? Anybody else been anywhere in Northern Europe? Yeah. It rains a lot, right? Dublin is an amazing city, actually. I love it. They call the Irish the Greeks of the North, and with good reason. I mean, they're really great. And I love being there. Problem is, it's really, the weather's terrible. It's such a pity about the weather, right? And when I come back to Greece, I really just am so happy that I'm not there. In fact, I find myself walking around Dublin and Northern European cities generally singing. Athens, right? Great city. Pity about the economy. You can't fix the weather. You can't fix the weather. We must fix the economy. We must.
One of the most commonly used words in the Greek language is malaka. We all know that, right? Yasu malaka, yasu malaka. And we use it a lot, right? The second most common word is then yinete. Then yinete means I don't feel like doing it. It's a very flexible word, by the way, versatile. It also means it can't be done. It means it can be done, but I'm busy having lunch right now. It means all sorts of things. But then yinete is the second most common phrase in this country. Sometimes they combine the words together. Then yinete malaka. Yinete. We've got to take this then word and just get rid of it and stay with the yinete. Because yinete. By the way, it's got to yinete. Because if it doesn't yinete, we're in deep shit. We have to create our awareness crisis. Which is why I was talking about Sakis Roumas. Sakis does not go on stage saying, then yinete. The Greek football team in 2004 did not walk into the stadium in Lisbon saying, then yinete. Piros Dimas did not say, then yinete. And the guys who built the Parthenon certainly did not say, then yinete. Yati yinete. Yinete.
You know, of course it can be done, for God's sake. I mean, I know it's difficult. I'm not trying to, you know, be right on this, but of course it's doable. We'll talk about it. And I'll give you some examples, right? I work with Yerobasilion. This wine, we had a wine tasting event in New York recently, and Vangelis was there as well, by the way. 500 people in New York. We had some Arnya on the sidewalk at the Psini, and Ivanka Trump was there. It was before Donald became the horrible. And then all sorts of, Michael Douglas, all sorts of people were there. And the whole of New York smelled like Skinopenti, by the way. And this guy who's the top wine critic in the States, his name is Alan Richmond from GQ magazine. He said, don't bother trying to pronounce this name. Just drink the wine. You're gonna love it. And they're talking about the Greek wine revolution. Assyrtiko, Malagousia, Lignon. They're raving about it. And by the way, this bottle of wine, which leaves the estate for €6 a bottle, is selling in New York for $125. And the strategy is not, it's not that strategy. We go almost block by block in New York City and say we have to be inside that restaurant. As opposed to simply